welcome to another fun video panel watch party with the HR Social Hour. It's Wendy without John. Unfortunately, John fell ill and is not able to join us tonight, but we decided to continue forward with the show with the real recruiters and not someone who just happens to do it still. Because we are talking about recruiting tonight and that fun recruiting during and after a recession. And everyone on this panel has been recruiting through 3 recessions. We were all here after 9/11 in 2008 and right now, because who could have imagined that we would be recruiting in the middle of a pandemic and a recession? So that just gives us a whole new level of fun to recruiting. But because we are experienced through this, we have gone through it. We were likely newbies when we started during the first recession. So we've had some time to learn from mistakes in the past. And this is our opportunity to pass some wisdom down to other new recruiters, other people new to human resources on how can we do this better. Because I don't know about my fellow panelists, but the first 2 shots through it, I don't think we did very well. I think we could make some big changes. And so I'm excited to have this conversation with you guys. You've all been on the HR Social Hour or HR Wonder Women or both in Tiffany's case. And so I will let you guys do a quick introduction of yourselves and then we'll kind of dive in. So we will start with Kirsten.
Hi everyone, I am Kirsten Greggs, the Trap Recruiter.
Tiffany.
Hello everyone, this is Tiffany Keel and I am in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Have been recruiting and doing HR stuff for 20 plus years.
And last but not least, Josh.
Hey guys, Josh Rock. I'm a recruiter with Fairview Health in Minneapolis. I'm a recovering HR vendor turned recruiter.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, it would not be the HR Social Hour if we did not start with what's in your glass tonight. So, Kirsten.
Nothing.
You and me. Yeah, unfortunately.
Not good, Kirsten, not good.
Not off to a good start, buddy.
Honey, you got to level up.
No.
Tiffany, what are you drinking?
This is a local beer. So I'm drinking local, shopping local. I masked up when I got in here, but I can't drink this through my mask. So
hey, as long as you're seated and in your spot, you're all good. You're golden.
And
How about
Tiffany,
you, Josh?
I've actually seen it done. TJ Oshie of the Washington Capitals, when they won the Stanley Cup, was known for drinking his beer through his jersey. So it can be done.
Oh, wow. Ugh, that sounds fancy.
Tonight's beverage, but for my good friend Smith & Forge hard cider. It's just what I had in my fridge. Feel free, check them out. Buy your favorite cider and or sours. You know, it's all good.
Nice. I love it. I love it. I'm on flavored water tonight. Just got back from running kids around. So I will likely have a nice rosé when we're done here.
Good call.
All right, so let's get a little bit of history in and kind of talk about, we'll go through where you were working, what industry, and then how long had you been recruiting in 2001 and then in 2008. I'll start. I was in the airline industry at 9/11. So I had been recruiting for about a year and that was the end of that. And then in 2008, I was doing recruitment / generalist type work for a hospital in Montana. And now I am in talent acquisition at a large healthcare organization in South Dakota. So most of my duties have revolved around talent acquisition since it would have been like 2000 when I officially started in recruitment. Yay. I'm gonna jump right to Tiffany. Let's switch it up a little bit.
Yeah, so my career in HR actually started in corporate training, and then went through a short stint in employee development, corporate training, generalist, and then migrated fully into talent acquisition. And at this point in time in 2011, 2001, or September 10th, September 11th, I was more in a generalist and employee development role, but did have recruiting responsibilities. So I was with a smaller organization, a not-for-profit, about 500 employees.
What were you doing in 2008?
In 2008, I was probably in a dive bar somewhere, drinking a cold beer, wallowing in my sorrows about how difficult it was to recruit.
So like today, then?
Yeah. So actually, I was with a large international, global, multinational, however you want to put it, multi-billion-dollar organization leading staffing efforts in recruiting. And we had at the time because of what was taking place, there were furloughs, there were conversations about how we cut costs, there were lots of cost controls being put into place to manage headcount, and it was really difficult to be in a recruiting leadership role and working with the recruiting teams and saying, okay, well, now that we have this downtime, let's figure out some other things to do. But we were really, we had scaled back on recruiting, and really we're working with the business to then just say, okay, how do we take this time to pause and revamp, revise, rebuild our strategies, but then also focusing on those critical roles, those hard to fill positions, those roles that we know we can't run a business without.
Yeah. Cool. How about you, Josh?
For some reason, my spacebar did not want to unmute me. So I'm actually coming from a little bit different angle. I was in the HR vendor space at that time, listening and helping solve those issues of the recruiters, the hiring leaders from SMB up to Fortune 500 across the country. And so I was listening to the struggles and trying to provide the tools and the tactics and the tips to help them pivot. I then moved into recruitment directly after getting through 2 of those recessions, and flipped to becoming a recruiter. Impact the change directly from inside versus from the outside through product offerings. And what I was seeing going through it, I was seeing the big disconnect from HR and the candidates being from the outside because it was easy to see. You could see the glaring differences. And when I switched, I took some of the best and some of the worst and put them together, and helped change teams and how they approached how they were going to recruit, train, engage, and empower their teams going forward. That brought me to where I'm at now at Fairview. I've been here now 5 years, and constantly finding new ways to kind of go through that. Now in healthcare, Wendy, you know this directly, being shut down really, really impacted what is normally a recession-proof industry. Mm-hmm. Healthcare doesn't normally get impacted in this way, but everything got shut down. Care was dead stopped except for those that were already in and on facility. Mm-hmm. And so we're battling through that now. People need healthcare, want healthcare, and now we've got to start it back up and put people in place, those care providers back into where they can deliver that care and lead towards healthier tomorrows. And so it's been different. It's been a lot of changing, a lot of shifting, a lot of changing of ideas and processes to get this going again.
And Kirsten.
So it's September 11th, 2001. I had been recruiting for a little over a year. I started recruiting the first day of January. That was a work day in 2000. And I had 10 months before transitioned from a staffing company to one of our 8A government contracting customers as their in-house, one of their in-house recruiters. And September 11th came, and because we were not heavy in the defense side, we were more so on the support, support side, doing more low-level things. I was actually impacted and lost my job in like that November. I was part of layoffs. Like they had to cut someone from every department. There were only 4 recruiters, and I guess I pulled the short. And that was fine. Fast forward to 2008, I was working for one of the largest defense contractors whose motto was support the warfighter. So when 2008 came, that was not so much a problem for me because of the customers that I supported. I did support the defense and intel groups heavily that were on the front lines. And then today, well, I've been working for myself for almost 3 years, and my work has slowed down in the sense of recruiting, putting butts in seats, but my talent acquisition work has shifted some. Mm-hmm. I'm doing more consulting work, doing more thought work, doing more of these type of wonderful things, talking to people about how to survive this. So I come fully equipped and fully prepared, and I'm happy to be sharing this space with all of you because I think we all collectively have about 103,000 years of recruiting.
Yeah.
Like Wendy and I started at the same time, almost mirror each other.
Years ago, yeah.
When I was 4. Yeah.
Right, yes. We were child prodigies. Yeah, somebody was talking about, 20 years ago, it was just 9/11 and that, 20, I'm like, oh my God.
Tomorrow, 19 years tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I still remember
Crazy.
Yesterday, the things
absolutely.
Things that our generation has experienced and gone through and survived is pretty amazing.
We're going to have some great stories when we're 80 and in the nursing homes.
Great stories now. I mean, True. Yeah, you start thinking about it, and I talk with my kids about, 9/11 and some of those things, and it's like, that's like ancient history to them because it was before they were born. So it's, and you think about some of the things and that's all during our adult lifetime. That's the kicker to me. I'm like, oh, that's not like talking about like the Challenger explosion or things that happened when you were a kid. This is like, it affected you so much differently as an adult. That call about getting laid off was just because it was a call. I wasn't, my boss after 9/11, he was in Chicago. I was in Denver. And you didn't have video conferences or anything at that time. So I guess I should be happy that I got a call and not a letter.
For sure, absolutely.
So I think,
or a text.
Well, I think we had
termination by Snapchat.
Beepers. I had a pager, for those recruitment emergencies.
911.
Right? Going way back. So we've talked a little bit about, we've had some layoffs, we've had, slowdowns in hirings. What are some of the other things that you guys have seen during the last 2 recessions, the one after 9/11 and 2008, that organizations did to kind of, get through it? What are there, or, most of them, 2011, mostly what I saw was layoffs. In the last recession, I saw some furloughs, I saw some freezes, but didn't see much other change. Did you guys see anything different during the last 2 recessions?
I think it's been a mix of the same. Layoffs in certain organizations, rolling furloughs in others. I mean, we've had rolling furloughs. You know, my parents went in their industries, had rolling furloughs. You know, my dad was in Sioux Falls, right in your backyard, Wendy. You know, at the Argus Leader, and Gannett was doing rolling furloughs, and you know, on a quarterly basis.
Yeah.
You know, and so you know, you just kind of you cinched up the belt and you went along with the ride. Some people would leave the organizations and try to find something new. Some people would add additional roles in retail or something like that to bridge the financial gap. You know, everybody kind of just tried to get through what they could.
I definitely saw some differences. I mean, living here in the DC metro area during September 11th was major, because I think a lot of us, you know, had either a family member or, you know, a friend, a neighbor, someone who was directly impacted by what happened specifically at the Pentagon, especially, like I said, and then being in my industry. So I had coworkers who didn't have a place to go to work. And the rebuild took a pretty long time. I remember my next job, you know, after I had gotten laid off, and this was now, this was, you know, a year later. You know, I remember I had a contract at the Pentagon, and they hadn't rebuilt, you know, so like there was, so when I would go see my contractors, or, you know, go and try and talk to the contracting officer to see how folks were doing, or to see if we could, you know, get some additional staff added to the contract, and I want to have lunch, we couldn't go to the place where you normally were, you know, like there was still like construction and places, you know, that were blocked off. So it was a whole like shift in how we did things in 2008. Like I said, because of the folks that I supported, I think there was a sense of like, I'm doing something, like, because I'm employed, like I have a sense of duty. I have a sense to like protect my country and to, you know, make sure that everything is okay. Like I'm part of a rebuild. I'm part of, you know, I'm one of the good guys. So there was that sense, especially if you lasted through it. Now, you know, there have been some smaller ones, especially like working in defense contracting, like I have been for, you know, most of my career, where our government customers had shutdowns, and when they had furloughs, and having to deal with that, like having to tell your employees, you know, hundreds at a time, that, you know, we'll pay you for the next 2 weeks, and then we don't know. You know, and kind of like, oh, and be ready to come back, or the government's not paying us, so we're not paying you. You know, those type of things are kind of difficult to manage and to deal with, and I think it leaves a taste in folks' mouth. I know some people who have left government contracting, or have left the government, or have left working because of those things. They just don't see the stability, and they've moved on to do other things, so that they don't have to deal with that, you know, every time something like this happens. So I definitely see the difference. Right now, it's odd for me, for people, like I'm paying a lot of attention to how I am dealing with it. I'm paying a lot of attention to the, you know, elitist and classist and pretty much sucky stuff. So look, you see how I did that? I was like,
you can totally uncensor yourself.
Yeah, we'll be okay.
Don't unblow my image, okay? So I am paying attention to those things, and don't get me wrong, like I wasn't being a complete jerk, you know, I wasn't fitting the, you know, the stereotype, you know, I come at the stereotype that folks have for recruiters all the time. But I was seeing little things that I was doing, like expecting, you know, expecting certain things, like the level, like for someone to be on camera all the time. You know, we can't expect that. We can't expect equity in that sense. Like everyone does not have the same access. Everyone is not going to be able to talk to you when you want to talk to them, And like, we can't expect that. And things like that. Like, I should know better because I'm used to dealing with people who work in secure facilities. And I know that I have the hour that they're at lunch, and I have their ride to work and their ride home to get the best, to get their, their best from them. So I started to pay attention to some of the habits and some of the, kind of like, like you have to come to me. I think this pandemic like has really leveled the playing field, from the sense that job seekers and employers are both trying to figure things out. And unless we extend grace to one another, we are not going to make it. Like, we're not. We've got an unemployment rate of 10.2%, and we're still talking about there's a talent shortage. Like, what do they say? Make it make sense. Like,
right.
It makes sense. Like, we've got a lot of work to do.
Oh yeah, we could probably go on for hours on that talent shortage, skills shortage piece of it. Tiffany, what did you see in the past 2 recessions that was maybe a little bit out of the ordinary than what was expected?
I think, I think what's different now, Kirsten's, talking about the access that people do or don't have. I think what's different about what we're experiencing now is that so many people, and I hesitate to say all, but a lot of people have access to technology. I mean, here we are, we're literally in 4 different places having a conversation all together. We can continue to have business conversations. We can still recruit. Technology has enabled us to continue to still do some of the work that we absolutely have to get done. So I think that's a little bit different with our current state versus 2001, 2008. And I think there are probably fewer jobs, meaning there have been more furloughs, there have been more layoffs, there have been more reductions because of the state that we're in now versus 19 years ago and 11 years ago. So there are some some differences, and I think what this will teach employers is how to be a little bit more thoughtful and strategic about how they're managing their business. And for recruiters, it's being, again, a little bit more thoughtful and strategic about how we are going about doing our recruiting. Are we going to continue to lay people off? Are we going to do furloughs? Or are we going to continue business as usual, knowing that we can work anywhere? We can do all of these same things no matter where we are in the world, because we have this ability to still maintain connection.
I think that's true. We have, the technology is so different, because I was trying to remember if I even had a smartphone in 2008, or I'm pretty sure I still had a flip phone.
Right. And I think there's a little bit of a difference, I think, emotionally, for what we're experiencing now versus what we experienced 19 years ago. I mean, we literally were attacked. I mean, and and as sad as it is, it brought people together. So there was this coming together that, I mean, we don't necessarily have now. So the way that businesses approached how they were doing business and how they were recruiting, I think there was something a little bit more gentle about it than what we're experiencing now.
No, I think you're right there, Tiffany. I thought at the beginning of the pandemic, I was starting to compare it in my head to 9/11. That's kind of where I thought we would be going as far as a country and organizations and such. But it's lasted much longer. Even with the rebuilds and everything that went on, we haven't had a chance to stop and do that. But I know in some cases, like, Josh, I know your organization, my organization, we never actually stopped recruiting we slowed it down a little bit, but not a lot. We did a lot. We moved people around. I think one of the good things we were able to do on the healthcare side is we reskilled people, and we got them into different positions and helping out. And even in HR, some of my coworkers in talent acquisition are now in employee relations because they went to help and they decided to stay. So, you know, I think that's one of the things that I've seen that's different this time around is there seems to be a little more willingness to move people around, to reskill. You know, we're seeing grant money coming in to states for doing some of that. The tech schools in South Dakota have they're calling it the upskill program. It's hard to get into, but it gives you an option, you know, especially if you're looking for something entry level. So what are some of the changes things like that you guys have seen or you're doing in your organizations? Maybe taking some lessons learned from the past two recessions on how we can, you know, because I know the four of us have talked about how do we make this better. So are we taking the opportunity to make things a little bit better? How are we doing? What are you seeing out there too?
I know our organization, much like yours, Wendy, you know, we've redeployed is the word we use all the time. Taking somebody from one clinical specialty and putting them into another that's actually functioning and providing care, or just working with the general public, getting them tested for COVID and processing those tests. But one of the big groups that we got that was impacted weren't even our employees. They were the students, those that were coming to our hospitals and our clinics in a clinical education capacity to finish their higher education learning and skill building so that way they can be professionals shortly thereafter. That dead stopped. And they need those in order to get their licensure. And so we came up with creative ways to get them through those necessary hours and still be able to graduate on time, test on time, so that we can hire them and put them right to work in providing that care. You know, so that was a really good pivot on our end. We couldn't put them everywhere. We put them in some of the more high risk or areas that were still functioning, senior care being one of them. Mm-hmm. We took nursing students and offered them nursing assistant positions where they could still provide elements of care, get the hours needed so they could continue that path. We still hire at a high clip. We're still 100 to 150 hires a week. It's crazy, you know, for being a regional healthcare organization, to be able to do that volume in a pandemic during an economic recession, with high, it's just crazy. But all hands on deck. You know, we changed processes, we changed onboarding processes, we changed, learning, opportunities. We obviously, like everybody, increased the amount of remote work capabilities, which in healthcare was not existent. Very little in healthcare was remote because guess what? Patients want you on site, shocking enough. And so whatever could go remote went and may stay remote, as we work through the budget crunches of our organization. So, we're pivoting, we're putting our creative hats on and making sure that patients don't see the hiccups. Because in our industry, unlike many, people don't want to come to us. They need to come to us because something doesn't feel good. So it's a little bit of a different shift, in comparison to some other industries.
Yeah. I think with the remote stuff, one of the things that we've talked about is how much money could organizations save if you didn't have those cube farms where people were driving into every day?
Right.
You have to heat and cool and,
Yep.
Crazy.
And I think that's a huge revelation and awakening for a lot of organizations that have been historically adamant about butts and seats without having any sort of justification beyond this is the way we've always done it. To the original question, Wendy, I think quite honestly, I think we grew complacent. When we had, 2001, 2008, and then things kind of went quote unquote back to normal. And the reason I say we got complacent is because this hit, and then suddenly people are like, well, shit, where is my emergency response plan. Why on God's green earth do you not already have one?
Right?
We're risk management, safe work environment. Why aren't these things already in existence? And suddenly people are scrambling. And you don't need something specific to each and every pandemic or each and every recession. You need a framework so that when something like this does happen, you can pivot and respond. You, instead of reacting, you can actually have a planful response. So I really think that, as things did turn around after 08, 09, organizations got complacent and said, yeah, we're good, we're fine. Yep, we'll remember all this stuff, should it happen again, but it probably won't. And here we, Gen X and millennials, and then everyone behind us, going through all of these things all within their lifetime. We need to be better prepared than we have been. We need to learn from the mistakes of the past. And that, as Josh is talking about some of the different things that have been done, one of those things that I think employers are now looking to do is, how do we respond when things like this happen? Do we completely shut recruiting off, or do we continue to recruit, knowing that we're going to have some hybrid jobs, we're going to have some stretch assignments, we're going to put employees in different roles to make sure the work is still being done and we're still able to employ our teams.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right there. We really did get complacent and just kept kind of went, this is how it's always going to be. But if you look at history, there's always a recession around the corner. That's just how the cycles work. So I think, one of the things that I'm hoping is, now we're smack dab in the middle of it with the pandemic and everything else, but, what are some things that we can do differently? I think about salaries and how they kind of stagnated because, there's a recession, so we're not going to adjust salaries. Well, we can't move up. We can't get out of it. We get out of it faster when there's more money flowing. So I think you've got it figured out. We can do better. We can't just, that's my worry, is that we'll just kind of fall back into those old patterns, those old comfortable patterns.
I don't think we can fall back this time because with the other instances, I mean, we built our coup and our disaster recovery off of a one-time event. So again, I can speak from the industry that I'm most closely tied to, and it became, we were training. Our disaster was, what if there's a shooter? Mm-hmm. What if someone comes into our office? So, now we're teaching people how to get out of the building. If you can't, how to get safe and all that. But tomorrow you can come back to this place, mm-hmm. Or a few days, or a week, it's not going to be an extended amount of time that you're gone. I don't think anyone assumed or thought or even thought forward to, this is going to be an extended amount of time. And there were enough of, organizations that had people who were either a hybrid or, 100% remote, that, especially from a recruiting standpoint, that they did not call on, that they did not lean on for how do you do this? How do we do this? Like, what do you do? Like, you clearly self-manage, we keep you on the books because you're doing your job. So help us. Like, they didn't do that. They just said, people are working from home, so I've got to have you on camera all day long. I've got to, all of your phone screens are now video. What? Be dressed up. No. Like,
don't forget to put your shoes on while you're at home.
I don't want to look at you all day.
I was doing phone screens from the office. Why do I have to be on video now?
Right. Exactly.
Right.
It makes no sense.
That becomes an issue. And again, I think we're only thinking about, I think what we've learned is that a lot of us, and I speak for myself specifically, like we only thought about ourselves, like how I work in this type of situation. But given the fact that I've done enough where folks are sitting in their cars or where they're, you know, literally like, I've met so many wonderful young people because they've been at my meetings, you know, they're like, what's happened? And it doesn't bother me, but I can see how there are some people who are like, oh, like your coworkers, like, oh, their kids are always screaming, their dog is barking, they're knocking stuff over. Like I said, like I've had kids that like come and like knock the whole thing over. They're typing, you know, I get to know what they ate that day, you know, my favorite t-shirt. I'm like, congratulations. You know, so I mean, I've adjusted to that, and I've worked from home. I've worked remotely for 3 years, so that part wasn't a big deal for me. But what I have had to adjust is the fact that everyone doesn't have their own space. Everyone doesn't have an office they can go work in. Everyone doesn't have the same amount of time that they can devote to, you know, being fully present. And it says a lot about the way that we work. I mean, even when I say this to folks, and I'll say it to you guys, I was like, I need y'all to get out of my office. And what I it's like when I did work inside of the company, like I would be in my office, and I even have a little thing. It's in my office downstairs now. I had a little placard that says, "This is the quiet corner," because I was the door that everyone knocked on when they wanted to hide, vent, whatever. I'm like, go sit in the corner. I'm working. So, you know, now when everybody's like, ring, 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 can you get on Google Meet? Can you get on Skype? Can you get on Zoom? And I'm like, can you get out of my office? Like, I'm trying to work.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mr. Rock. Like, Josh has the best recruiter name, and like the whole, like, Josh Rock. Like, you cannot do that. I'm very, very, very jealous. Like,
It worked well on country radio, I'll tell you that.
You know what? Are you like a country radio announcer or something?
I did for a short time out of college. I worked for a radio group up here in central Minnesota.
I can, like, you have a great like radio voice, so I can do that. I love
I have a face for it too.
I like that you said radio voice and not radio face. I love that.
Yeah, I definitely have the face for radio.
Don't put words in my mouth, Tiffany.
I didn't. I was acknowledging that what you did not say.
Listen.
No.
That's why I love Tiffany.
Yeah. Love it. No, but I think, you know, one of the things that I have found, so I'm in a cube farm, and working at home is so much nicer because it's quiet and I'm not hearing 25 other conversations going on. But we've also found more intentional times to have those water cooler conversations that people say that's why we need to be back in the office, because you're missing those one-off conversations. Like, well, no, you just schedule them now, and now you're not interrupting somebody's time. Right. You're scheduling it to say, you know, I did that with one of my coworkers. I was like, hey, can we have a brainstorming session? Let's throw some time on the calendar and have a brainstorming session. So I think we need, you know, and just like with recruiting, how can we do this differently? But I love what you said, Kirsten, about we didn't ask the people who've been doing it. Remote's been around, you know, remote's not new. So we didn't go and ask the people, how are you doing it? How are you making it work? How can we scale it?
No, we definitely not scaling it.
No.
I thought about, Tiffany mentioned something about this, like changing the way people work and all that. But, you know, one of the groups that I was most worried about at the beginning of the pandemic were the early careers and the interns, because I work closely with them in my, you know, on the other side of my business. And I was happy that, you know, a lot of the interns still were able to do their internships. You know, they were remote, and, you know, they still had their cohorts where the interns got together. You know, they got their, you know, some young people who were supposed to be moving, you know, to other states for the summer and getting housing and learning about, you know, like they missed that experience. And I hate that. I hate that for them. But I am also very proud that some of those programs found a way to make it work and found a way to still make it meaningful and build those connections and, you know, for them. And who's to say that this isn't going to be what work is? So, you know, while I'm sitting around thinking, oh, well, they're not getting the real experience. Well, who's to say that this isn't going to be the experience? And I feel like they might be the right ones to tell us how to do it right. Because again, like I mean, how many times have we been on a meeting and people are like, can you hear me? Can you, like we spent the first 15, can you hear me? Is my camera on? How's the light?
Josh, mute. Josh, you're not on mute. Josh, you're not on mute.
Dang it, I hate when that happens.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All right. So talking about that, I think that's a good segue because, you know, the students, entry-level people, they're not getting the same types of experiences. But what are we seeing with candidates now too? Are you seeing something different coming from them? And not just because of the pandemic, but, you know, the recession, and how do they look compared to, and I'll be honest, I don't remember what they looked like after 9/11 because that's just all shell shock. But, you know, how we were approaching jobs in 2008 compared to now. Yeah, because we were talking about the same stuff. Oh, you know, now I've got, instead of having 20 candidates for this job, I have 50 candidates for this job. Because like you, Josh, and I'm sure Kirsten and Tiffany, you saw it too. You have those positions where everyone and their dog applies for it. And now you have, you know, people with master's degrees applying for entry-level jobs because they need a job. So are you seeing anything different this time around with candidates?
You know, one thing that I'm seeing and actually pivoting on is with the accessibility is also having to remind them of the professionalism that goes with video interviews still. Because sometimes they're like, oh, everybody's at home, so I can be casual. This is still an interview. You know, you still need to put your best foot forward, which means putting your cat away in the other room. You know, trying to make sure that you're, you know, doing your video interview not at a Starbucks with a steamer in the background. It's still being very thoughtful behind the process, along with the hiring leaders. You know, we use Microsoft Teams, and you can change the backgrounds, and people use Zoom and change their backgrounds and such, and they're inappropriate, or you see part of their face because they put on a filter that doesn't accentuate, you know, what they're doing. You know, they've got their hair's cut off. I mean, not everybody can be almost bald like me, you know, and get away with it in their interview. But, you know, I spend time actually still coaching candidates and coaching leaders on how to pull off a successful interview. So that way the experience for both parties is on point the way that it would have been if we were in person. So that's actually taken a little extra care versus just rolling with it the way that I see some going through it. That's one major pivot I know that I've at least tried to take, and, you know, do a little extra care in a uncommon situation. Because as Kirsten said, unlike, you know, the recession of 08, 09, or the attacks of 9/11, etc., we didn't expect that to last. We're going to continue to see wave after wave after wave of COVID, and we need to adjust accordingly. One thing that, to bring us back just a few minutes, we talked about, you know, the working of remote. I find myself early on laughing at the organizations that trimmed the work from home staff because they weren't there. And now everybody's at home and they're like, you got rid of all of this talent however long ago because you didn't want work from home within your organizations and in your culture. Now 70% of your staff is working from home. What did you lose? What cost did you incur in your organizations because of it? And now they're all like, oh yeah, we're all progressive now. We're all working from home. Come on.
And you have everyone
So
on Zoom.
I laugh at that if you're the few organizations. What's that?
And you have your people on Zoom for 8 hours, so you
Oh,
make
exactly.
sure that they're sitting there and working.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that kills me. I think that's good, Josh, that you are helping coach both the candidate and the hiring manager. One of the things that we forget a lot of times, especially as recruiters, is that people don't do this every day like we do. You know, we shouldn't expect them to be experts at selling themselves, at marketing, at sales, at all this stuff, writing, you know, oh, well, they didn't write a good cover letter.
Who the hell reads a cover letter anyway?
It's not a writing position.
I do.
Kirsten does. I do on occasion.
Ain't nobody got time for that. When I'm looking at 300 applications for one full-time position, no.
When you look at an amazing resume and you're like, why is this person applying for this job? I go back to the cover letter and I find out what their story is.
I call them.
And yes, yes, but there's the cover letter to reference as you're having that conversation.
Yeah.
And you know, Josh, when you talk about you know, helping people understand that despite being remote and doing all of these interviews and we need to still be professional, I think it's also important to let recruiters, hiring leaders, HR business partners, also introduce the human aspect of it. The kid that's going down to the coffee shop, that may be their only access to Wi-Fi. So
Agreed.
We need to be cognizant. Yeah. So we need to be cognizant of all of that. Still, you know, saying, yes, take this seriously, just because you've got pajama bottoms on and a sport coat on top doesn't, you know.
Is that the new COVID mullet?
Yes, it is it's the COVID mullet.
A business mullet. I business mullet every single day.
I love
business on top, shorts on the bottom. I'm okay with it.
Every day. I wish someone would. Honestly, I got tired. I got tired of it. And you know, Wendy and Tiffany, you guys know me on Twitter, and I'm just like, I didn't even, like, one day I was like, I didn't even take my headscarf off. Like, I don't care. I didn't. You know what? I don't care. Like, it wasn't that, like, I wasn't like, you know, you're unprofessional or you don't care about your job or, you know, you're a bad person. I'm just tired of pretending. Like, I was having a bad day. I didn't feel like it. And I got to the point where early, like probably a month or two in, you know, if you're doing 7, 8 video things a day, your brain is like, and your eyes are tired and you're just, oh my goodness. So I would give the candidate the option. Like, if they turned their camera on, then I would, but I didn't require it for a phone screen or
right.
No. But if they want to, that's fine. So I would turn it on. But that one day, like I said, like, I wasn't dressed, and I told the gentleman, I said, listen, if you want me to turn my camera on, I will. I get it. If you want to practice, you want to make eye contact. I was like, but I'm just going to be, I was like, I'm not dressed the way that you want me to be dressed. I'm just not. And, you know, I'm not like showing anything, you know, I'm very modest when it comes to certain, you know, when it comes to dress, you know, and when it comes to my hair, like, I think about those things. But yeah, no, I'm not, like, I put on lipstick today, but this is not the norm anymore. But, oh, you okay, Wendy? Bless you.
Sneezing. Excuse me.
But, you know, like, that used to be my thing, you know, like, oh, I get to go outside today. Like, I get to go to a meeting outside the house today. Like, I'll get dressed up, you know, because for me, my work clothes were gym stuff, you know, and I can't expect, again, people who, like, if we're jumping on a call really quickly to, you know, go and get all dialed up. Like, I don't have that expectation for them. I'm not going to put that on them. Like, they may be doing the best they can that day, and I'm okay with that. One thing I do stress to job seekers or the folks that I coach specifically is to try and be transparent. Like, you're not here alone. Like, if you don't have Wi-Fi access, you know, between these times, don't schedule your calls at those times. Like, let them know. Like, let them know when you do have the availability, when you do have the time. And there are ways that, you know, we can maneuver our cameras and position them and take things out. I mean, listen, especially for some of the younger people who live on FaceTime, like that still drives me crazy. I have a niece that's getting ready to be 14, and she does not believe in not FaceTiming me. Like, she does not text. Like, I'm like, you could text me, you can call me. No, FaceTime. I'm like, man. But again, that's a generational thing, so I have to get used to it. You know, and again, when you're FaceTiming with your friends, or you're FaceTiming with someone, like, you know how to make that camera, like when you're taking your selfies, you know what to do. You have your ring light, you're ready. So do so do that for your interview too, man. You're getting a job. You're trying to get a job. Put that same effort in. But again, in certain situations, like, that job is their lifeline. That job that they're interviewing for is the thing that's going to help them change their situation, so that they don't have to go to the coffee shop, so that they don't have to sit in the car, so that they don't have to sit in the closet. Like, I've seen folks, you know, and I'm like, the acoustics are better. Like, if we're going to be 100%, the acoustics are better in the bathroom they are. They really are. The best acoustics are. I sound so good in the bathroom.
And the lighting in there is amazing.
Yeah. Amazing.
Usually.
And
So I think you're on there, Kirsten, that, you know, this new generation comes in, they're going to be more adept at this anyway. So I think whatever we can do to help the candidates, to help our hiring managers make the adjustments that they need to say, you know, hey, hiring manager, give them a little bit of grace if they're at Starbucks, but hey, I'm going to coach you too. You know, do you know what the quiet time at your Starbucks is, so that we're not having, you know, the lineup at 8 a.m. of everyone in trying to get their pumpkin spice lattes.
Oh God, no. Is it pumpkin spice time already?
It is.
Where have you been?
It is.
So unlike everyone else, I've been in the house.
Kirsten, get out. Get out.
The only good thing about pumpkin spice latte.
Listen, I'm not there.
Okay, just
I live
checking.
in a red zone. No. Like, I'm being, like, all jokes aside, like, I live in a red zone, and it's not the best for me. Because
I get you.
if I come down with COVID and I'm too weak to put it on Twitter, which I wouldn't do anyway, like, it would be days, possibly weeks before, like, everyone knew that I was not okay, because, you know.
No. I would know.
No, because those first couple of days, y'all will be talking bad about me. Like, Kirsten's not responding to our text messages. This has probably blocked me on Facebook and Instagram. Where is she? She's probably got a little boyfriend or something. That's why we haven't heard from her. But no, I'm, like, laying on the couch, sweating, and, like, can't move. I haven't eaten in 4 days, and you guys just think I'm being a jerk. So yeah.
Girl, they got DoorDash. If you haven't eaten in 4 days, just order something.
But I would have to, you know, if
she would have to move. She would have to literally move her body in order to.
Get Life Alert.
Get down the steps.
We're gonna order you Life Alert, Kirsten. I saw it, and I can't get up.
Listen.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
But yes, it is pumpkin spice latte season, which means peppermint mocha season is on its way.
Oh yeah.
I'm very happy for you with your peppermint mocha.
You know what that all means, right? Hockey season.
Okay.
All right, we got it all figured out.
It's still
right.
baseball season, and Tiffany's not going to let you encroach on her season. So
They're in playoffs
Baseball.
now, right? They're doing baseball playoffs.
No, actually, it's Stanley Cup playoff season.
Stanley, okay.
Yeah, Stanley Cup playoffs.
I'm just I mean, it's 2020, so I don't know what's going on.
It's all mixed up. They just took all the sports, put it in the blender, and see what the hell came out.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, NFL kicked off today.
did it?
Really?
Who? Yeah.
That's nice.
Sports ball.
The Washington sports team didn't play today.
Okay.
No one
Oh
cares.
my goodness. All right, so lost my train. Anyway, so we've been through this.
I hope it didn't derail.
You know, here we, you know, I edit. I got skills. So we've been through this. We've been doing it, and I know I've talked with you guys about recruitment and crazy stuff, and you know, that's my brain is going in all sorts of crazy directions right now. So I want to know, what is one big audacious change? I'm talking, we're throwing all the sports in a blender and we're coming out with hockey ball type of change. We're just throwing out all the rules and we're starting over. Kirsten, I'm going to pick on you to go first. What would you do?
What do you mean?
Like, what would this, like, some big change to recruitment that's just gonna, like, we're not doing applications anymore. We're gonna do something else.
Oh,
Knowing what we know, things that we've done in the past, and things that are just that, you know, there's things, you know, we hate job descriptions and we hate doing job postings.
And we're not doing. So I'm gonna cheat a little. And pull the new rule that I gave to Katrina Kibben. We're not doing this following the process. We have to do 3 interviews before we make an offer bullshit anymore. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. People need to go to work, and we need to move on quicker because, again, the time frame that we have to do stuff is all messed up. We never know when we're going to be able to get in touch and do it. So no, if you interview the right person, make the offer, the end.
There is no better person out there.
No, job offers on the spot. I mean, just no. You know what your budget is. You know what an individual is worth. You know what they're going to be able to contribute. You have the conversation, offer them the job before they walk out the door.
I love it.
The other idea that I've literally just had is when you bring an intern into the organization, have them intern with the CEO.
Oh, I like that. Why not?
And not this, you know, make my coffee crap, but like literally, this is what it takes to run this business.
I love it.
I mean, it'll stop that complaining about, you know, how people coming up are lazy and how, you know, people at the top are so entitled. I mean, there's just this disparity between what's actually done and understood and what younger folks actually do understand and perceive about what we do when we're in leadership roles. So instead of having someone come in intern as an engineer, have them sit side by side with the business president. Tell me what you do all day, and have that person, you know, truly intern and job shadow and understand what business is all about.
And that's what we say about HR. HR, you have to know the business. You have to know the business. You have to know the business. We don't preach that at anybody else. You know, we're not telling accounting, you need to understand what HR does. Marketing, you need to understand what HR does. Engineers, oh my God, please try and understand what HR does.
Tiffany, you will love this. We already do that. They're called fellowships. Fairview has them, and they follow and they shadow organizational leaders. And then we try to put them into higher level, mid to high level opportunities in the organization once they're done. We obviously can't do that all the time, you know, but you know, we want to get those that are in a clinical, you know, role or want to be in a clinical role, get them as quickly to the bedside as we can, because healthcare doesn't stop. It's 24/7, 365.
Right. And in healthcare, you can do that, and it should be done. And I think things like that need to be adopted in other industries, you know, and to stop the mantra of you have to earn your stripes. I mean, my kid, he's 14. He's one of the, you know, smartest individuals I've met, there, you know, if there are people like that that have that in, that brain, why are we going to force them to go through steps that are unnecessary when they have the skills, the abilities, and the mentality to operate at a higher level?
Definitely agree.
Agreed.
How about you, Josh?
I didn't hear Josh's step. Okay.
So, my idea actually, and it parallels a lot. You know, the one thing that Wendy and I run into, being that we're so highly regulated in healthcare, through things like Joint Commission, we can't go through some of those shortcuts, but we are doing some of them where we can. Where rapid hires, we're doing great ways to trim down that time to hire, because we're all about the metrics in health in HR, right? Please. We're doing that as much as we can. In union environments, we can't get around that. I'm not going to go fight, a union contract just because we're in a pandemic and we need to do rapid hires. I want to keep the union for, people on my side, because they make my life easier if I'm not fighting them. We got to go through some of those. But in areas where we can, yes, we can, will, and do rapid hires to get around that stuff. So it really gets into throwing the playbook out. Where can we make adaptations? Where can we make changes to expedite processes, make it easier, but at the same point, still guarantee that they're getting a positive experience? Because you can make all the shortcuts you want, and if it's still, Kirsten, plug your ears, shitty, it doesn't matter. The shortcuts don't matter. So make sure that the moves that you make are quality, that they're still improving the experience for everybody all the way around, the hiring leaders, the new hires, the current staff, because it's your customers in whatever industry you are, that they're going to get the benefit, the dividends out of it, and then the organization in the back end gets it through revenue, et cetera, longevity of their business. So.
Exactly. No, because I think, one of the things that I've said for a long time is we put in applicant tracking systems and we think it's going to make life better, but we don't actually look at the process. We just make it faster. So we've just speeded up a bad process. So I'm going to share my big audacious goal. My big audacious idea is, seriously, we're going to stop asking for applications up front. We need to get bare minimum information, let's find out your skills. Let's find out what you can do before we find out what your education and your how many years of experience is. Because too many times, and I'm guilty of this too, because you have so many applications to go through, you don't have time to really read it, really take it in. You look at job titles. Job titles, 5 years of experience, you're in the yes pile. Job titles, no bachelor's degree, this pile. So.
And Wendy, that's not recruiting, that's processing.
I know, I get it. I get it. But we've been there, and I'm sure you guys have all been there, where it's just like, I don't have time to actually recruit. I just have to process this paper through. So let's put some fun on it. Find some AI, some gamification, because we're training medical assistants on Fortnite type games right now. Wow. They're getting trained online, and they can go take care of people in 6 months.
Nice.
I know. And it's cheap, and they're out there, and they're certified. So why can't we do that? Make it short, because, I don't want people sitting there for half an hour. So 10 minutes max. And then we kind of help guide you to, okay, you got this kind of score in our game. There's no pass or fail. It's, you got this kind of score, check out these jobs. You got this kind of score, check out these jobs. Because we call our recruiters talent advisors. Would you search for a talent advisor if you wanted to be a recruiter?
No.
No. And the job, job titles matter and they don't matter at the exact same time. We all know.
Did that change just before or just after you got there?
Just before.
I could probably make some parallels there.
So there's, I mean, so that's my big thing right now. I'm doing research into it. I'm checking it out to see how would that work. You do get the application eventually in my big idea, because you do need it. You have to do background checks. You have to do all of that kind of stuff. But why are we asking for someone to spend 25 minutes telling us their life history when we don't even know if they have the right skills to do the job?
Yep. We've actually explored a very similar idea.
Yeah.
You know, obviously you can't do it with a neurosurgeon.
That's a little different.
Doing fortnight, application.
Right.
Probably not a great idea. Proctologist, no, not a good idea. No.
But environmental services,
Yeah.
food services, HR. I would encourage everyone
Well,
to do this.
What about Oregon Trail?
Ooh, even better.
Oh my
Can
God.
you survive? Oregon
TK
Trail?
died of dysentery.
Yeah.
Tiffany died of dysentery.
Early on.
You get dysentery, you go to EVS.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
but-
supply chain. You go to each fort. You got to buy your supplies. So your supply chain.
So Nike has this at the beginning of their application process where you answer some, the Disney princess questions. Would you rather do this or this type of questions? And then they give you a list of jobs that you might be interested in. The rest of their application process is pretty similar to the traditional process, but I've shared that in my office. I'm like, we need to do something like this to help people get to the right jobs so that they know, because we ask people all the time, what do you want to do? Well, I don't know. What do you have? What are my opportunities? What options do I have here? I don't know that. So
What do you want to be when you grow up?
yeah, I don't know.
I just want to work.
I want to be retired.
I just want a paycheck and PTO.
Oh, all right. So now I want to close. This has been so much fun, you guys. This has been a fantastic conversation, but I want us to close with each one piece of advice that you would give to people who are currently looking for a job during this awesome time that we're in right now. So Tiffany, I'll pick on you to go first. I don't think I've picked on you for a while.
One piece of advice for people searching, I think it would be very similar to any other time really, and that's just be honest with yourself about who you are, what your abilities are, and what your aspirations are, and don't compromise. Do not take a job just because it's offered. Have your do this. What are the pros and cons? What is it that you really want to be doing, and does this align? Now, if granted, if you have the ability to wait and forego that income, but if you're a job seeker, do not compromise. Do not just take a job to take a job.
Awesome. Josh.
Can I give two?
Oh,
Yeah.
Of course you were breaking the rules. No.
Of course.
Of course.
Tip number one, hashtag job hunt chat, Monday nights, 9 or 8 p.m. Central.
Perfect, yes.
There's that. I'm just going to start with that. For those of you that don't know that are catching this, it's a weekly job advice chat. I'm the lead moderator. I've got a lot of good friends across the country who are contributing to it on a regular basis. It brings together job seekers and job pros to bring ideas to the forefront and help everybody out. So that's one. Two, follow your passions. Life's too short. A good friend of ours, John Jorgensen in Illinois SHRM, said it best. Don't suck. to a keynote speaker friend of mine. I mean, just plain straight out. To a keynote speaker that was making, I think, $40,000 for an hour presentation. He just walked up and said, don't suck. It's the same thing for a job seeker. If you follow your passion, the suckage will dissipate. So follow your passion, don't suck while you're doing it, and all will be right with the world. I know that's all puppies and rainbows, but seriously, it works. How's that?
Love it.
All right, cool.
Can you follow that, Kirsten?
Whoa.
Don't suck, Kirsten. Don't suck.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Hey, Kirsten, by the way, don't suck.
Yeah.
So, my advice is to not suck, to follow your passion, to apply for the jobs and go after the jobs that you really want, not the job that you think you can get. That is the best advice that I can give anyone, because yes, we have to get out of that mindset of I just want a job, because there are jobs, you can have them.
Kirsten,
Yeah.
I want to piggyback on that for 1 second. Do you know the difference between a job and a career?
You want it?
Job stands for just over broke.
Oh, well, I have a job. Don't be like me. Don't suck. No, really. Don't. Go for the job that you want, not the job you think you can get.
I love it. I love it. No, wonderful advice as always. I loved it. This was so much fun. I know we could have gone on for hours going back and forth on different ideas. And I think the thing just to leave everyone with here is we can be better. We can grow from this recession. We have to grow from it because it's a different world. You know, from the first two, there was a lot of similarities in the world. We didn't have all the technology that we have now. I do think that things are going to change. And so it's up to us as HR professionals to keep that change moving forward. And I think we can really push that in recruitment. We are that first point of contact for so many people. And, you know, some hiring managers, we're the only HR people they ever interact with. So we get to set the stage. And I think that's, it's a good thing. It's always a good thing. So, for those listening who don't know you guys, we'll go around the room and you guys can please let our listeners know how the best way to get in touch with you. Kirsten.
I am on all social media at Trap Recruiter.
Josh.
You can find me, JRock6 on Twitter. You can find me at Job Hunt Chat. You'll see me there all the time. LinkedIn, you name the platform, I'm on it. I'm easy. There are not many Josh that have this ugly mug. Find me, message me. If you stalk me, I'm going to call you. So just be ready.
Tiffany.
And I am on LinkedIn, Tiffany Keel, and also on the Twitters. The handle is at Tiffany Keel.
You got to spell that because that's not the way it's spelled.
That is true.
Yeah.
It is Kuehl.
And we'll have this all in the show notes for everyone to be able to connect with you guys. You can find me on the Twitters, Wendell93, and also the second and fourth Sunday of each month. You will please join us on Twitter for the twice monthly HR Social Hour Twitter chat. We have a lot of fun. Every Thursday, a new podcast episode comes out. And John and I are looking to do more of these panel interviews as well. We have a lot of fun with the first two we did. I think we're working on one, doing maybe some crisis management. Seems to be a hot topic right now. I don't know why, but get your emergency management planned. So that we'll share that. And please follow John as well. He is JON_Thurmond, THURMOND. We did miss you tonight, John, but we had a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun talking about recruitment, learning from these great folks. Love talking to fellow Gen Xers. I'm just going to say it. Gen X is the #1 generation. And we have to say it because apparently everyone else forgets about us. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. This is Wendy, and for the HR Social Hour Half Hour podcast. You know what? I don't remember our sign off, so I'm going to use HR Wonder Woman sign off. This is Wendy, and go tell your own story. Oh my gosh.